Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we get to do one of my favorite things. We have a repeat guest, and I love it when we have guests on more than once because it means they've got such great information that we have to keep sharing it with everyone. And so please join me in welcoming back to the program, Stephen Somers. Welcome.
Deb, I am so happy to be here. I love your introductions. You've got such a nice, welcoming voice. It's like coming back home again hearing you. I love it.
We have so much fun. And of course, you're across the pond or I'm across the pond. I'm never quite sure which way the pond goes.
I'm across the pond. You are in the right place. I am away from you. So I'm over here in Ireland. Yes.
We are the ultimate social distance, right?
Oh, yeah, we're very safe.
There's a little bit of water between us.
Exactly. There's no problem here.
So no masks. So I love it. And, but I should have asked before we started, Stephen or Stefan?
Stephen. Yep.
Stephen. Okay. So I had it right. What do you know? So let me go ahead and remind folks just a little bit about you or introduce you to the people who didn't hear you the first time. So Stephen Somers is the co-founder of Marketplace Superheroes, an online education and services company that helps people all over the world learn how to sell their own products globally on Amazon from complete scratch. Together with his business partner, Robert, Stephen has won 5 Two Comma Club awards for Marketplace Superheroes, which is now an 8-figure business. And the guys have also helped over 5,000 people. And probably, this was written 6 months ago when we first did this, probably way over that now, to create multiple income streams online. So again, Stephen, welcome.
I'm so happy to be here. And yes, I'm really proud to say, I believe the number now is 7,500 people in our community now. So it's great, and
Cool.
I really feel honored to come back because it takes a lot of effort to put together an audience like you have. And so my goal today is simple, just share as much as I can in whatever way is going to help those of you listening to move on. And
Cool.
Just know, if I can give you one thing as we're starting today, from my thematic point of view, it's that, yes, we're going through a weird time in the world right now, but there's so much opportunity even now in these strange times. And hopefully today we'll uncover just even a fraction of what's actually possible out there for you.
Right. Well, and our first time that we chatted was way back in June of 2020. I think that was when we, we're kind of figuring out, hey, this pandemic thing's a little bit more than we thought it was going to be. I love it. Here in the States, they had said, if we shut down everything in March for 2 weeks, everything will be hunky-dory. And we all went, yeah, right. And, as we record this, it's January. It'll actually air in about a week. But, things are still locked down. I mean, you're back in total lockdown. The States are trying to figure out what the heck we're going to do. And of course, around the world, things are still varied. But, I think what we have seen is people are resilient. They have discovered, what, whether this goes away or not, we have to continue. And I love that you have that you've helped 2,000 people just in the time that you and I chatted, because I think that was actually going to be one of my first questions is, do you see that there's been a dramatic increase in the number of people that are selling online and especially on Amazon?
Yeah, definitely. And, we have an interesting sort of experience here, because not only do we teach this stuff, obviously we do it, but also we ship our members products from typically the Far East to the likes of the US. We have a huge warehouse facility in Houston there. We also are in Canada now. We've opened there since we last chatted. We just opened a warehouse this month. Actually, funnily enough, we've actually filled the warehouse almost and we haven't got the keys yet, which is a new record that we've set, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, you were so fast.
Yeah, we already needed the unit beside it, which is amazing. Australia, then we've developed a really good warehouse over there, and we've a huge facility in Europe, in Northern Ireland, for the European market, and we just help our Amazon sellers import their products and get them into Amazon's warehouses. Obviously, we have courses and blah blah blah, but that's just, I suppose, the reason I'm telling you that is because in 2020 we shipped 2 million items from the Far East to the different countries that I mentioned. And no real Canada, because it just opened, obviously. But then this year, we are, the run rate, it's early days, but the run rate that we're on now, we're looking like we're going to ship about 6 million items this year. So we would expect a trebling of the freight shipment level and company, which obviously tells you a lot. Like, and it tells you, and we've been looking at the numbers, and what we've seen is more people than ever have realized I could be furloughed, I could be removed from my job, I could be, you fill in the blank. And people have said, well, I've wanted to do something for a long time, and I've never had a reason to do it. Now I kind of have no choice, or I'm still in my job, but actually
supplement.
Yeah, and I'm seeing like, wow, I really need to consider taking my income into my own hands and taking more responsibility for that, because I think, like, I know you're only a little bit older than me, only a little bit now, right?
Oh, aren't you sweet?
Oh, well, that's it. But so we're in slightly different generations, and I suppose generations longer ago, like maybe my grandparents will be older than you, obviously, but like long ago, your parents potentially as well. It was like everybody had their own little gig back then. Everyone was a lot more independent. Obviously, there was a lot more people as well who worked in big companies, big mills and whatever. But like, there was a lot more people that had their own income streams of some kind. I think as time has gone on, then, bigger companies, we all went in there. We all thought the information age was the thing. And now we're seeing like, wow, actually, with the way the internet is, I can build an income doing a lot of different things, like weird, even strange things, and get more of that, I suppose, responsibility and therefore security,
Right. Well, I think one of the things that many people don't even realize, and I mean, I didn't realize it for quite a long time, is that a good chunk of Amazon is actually third-party sellers. I think for a long time, we all thought Amazon buys up all this stuff and they keep it and then they sell it. And that's really not true. How much of Amazon is actually third-party sellers?
Yeah, it's, again, that's changing all the time, but it's much more than 50%, over half their business.
Yeah, so Amazon basically is managing and as opposed to the actual, here's the thing that I'm selling you.
Yeah, so let's explain that, because that's a good question. People may not be aware of. It's actually estimated to be 60-70% now of their business. But again, it's hard to know because the numbers now are flying at the moment. But anyway, Amazon's a marketplace as well as being a place where they sell their own products. Obviously, initially, they sold all their own, not their own products, but they sold products themselves. And then time went on, they realized, well, we could create a marketplace here where we have buyers, we'll put sellers in here, and now we have something. And so it's been a marketplace for a long time now. And people don't realize globally, and these numbers are a little bit skewed, but I'll explain them. There's about 2 million third-party sellers on the Amazon platform globally, right? Which people don't realize. But actually, the thing about that number is a lot of those 2 million are very small, and they're typically just reselling stuff that they're able to access, secondhand or possibly just from a wholesale or whatever the case may be. Whereas what we deal in, and it's hard to get exact numbers on it, but we deal in private label selling. So for anybody that doesn't understand that, real briefly, it just means we would teach you how to go onto Amazon, identify different types of products that are low competition that you can then brand up with your own brand. You can change the design of the product potentially, although it's not really a beginner strategy. You can make a better offer. But the big thing is you get your own brand with your own barcode on that product. And then the thing a lot of people also don't understand is that Amazon provides something called FBA, which is fulfillment by Amazon. And what that means is you can send a quantity of your own product that you've got manufactured in the States or in the Far East, for example. You put your own barcode on it. You can send a quantity of that into Amazon. They'll store it in their warehouse. And so whenever, Deb, whenever you're on doing your shopping, because I know you're an Amazon shopper. I think
of course. Amazon Prime, of course.
In a big way, yes. Remember we talked about that last time. And so when you're on there looking, you might see that I'm selling a thread rack. I just did a video about thread racks. I'll talk about that because it's a good example. I'm selling a thread rack and it'll be like, sold by Stephen, fulfilled by Amazon or shipped by Amazon. And so then the really cool thing is you or I, we don't do the day-to-day shipping to the customer. Amazon do that. Now, what's been interesting is for anybody who's got any experience in this space, Amazon made a change a while back, which actually has hampered a lot of sellers, but not our sellers. And I'll explain why. And what they did was they said, and because we predicted this years ago, Robert and I, my business partner, like they're not a warehouse. They're a fulfillment center. Therefore,
they're not just storing it like a warehouse would be doing.
And they don't want to store thousands of units of your stuff because it takes up space and it costs some money. So what they did initially was they charged people a lot of money. They charge them long-term storage fees and stuff like that to try and encourage people, discourage people from storing there. But the problem for a lot of small people learning this thing and all of that is they were like, well, I don't have a warehouse. I don't have enough room in my home. I don't live in the States, but I want to sell in the States.
So you have to get all of my inventory.
And that's where our freight company really, why we've taken off so much is that we've really partnered with all of our members. And we give them that place that they can send their stock to. We import it for them from the Far East. And so we bring it to our warehouses in all the different countries I mentioned. And then the nice thing is our members only have to send in a small quantity of stock to Amazon to get their ball rolling, and then they replenish from there. So that's like a big understanding of like, I know some Amazon courses have heard about this. This has come in recently, and like, people are asking the mentors, well, what do I do? They don't know because they don't have the facility. So, so yeah, that's just a little bit about the changes for anybody interested in this, but also understanding like you're not going to send all your stock to Amazon. That would be a little bit of a mistake.
Right. And the way I kind of think about it is like a shopping mall, and Amazon is the shopping mall. And then there's all these little stores in there. And so, they don't want you to have every single thing that you have in that store, but they're going to bring the traffic in, so they're bringing the people in, and then they're going to help you sell it. And so it's still your responsibility to get the product, to do all of those various things. But, then Amazon kind of takes over and goes from there.
Yeah, and it's really, I like that analogy, but it's a sort of it's a funny one. It's hard to describe because actually, yes, it is a shopping mall. I think that's a great way to look at it. But it's like a shopping mall where you go and then all the stores know you. They know what you're interested in. And shops all change.
Yeah, they do here's what we're suggesting based on your previous things. I'm like, oh, cool.
Exactly. All the clothes shops that got blue clothing, as we chatted about, right? And all that. So it's that kind of idea. And so what's interesting is that it's an interesting fact about traffic on the internet. So people on the internet. Some people think like when I start a business, I'm going to create traffic. But you don't create it. Like people are already out there looking.
There's still bazillions of people that are there no matter what.
And they're looking for things. That's the important piece about Amazon. And when you understand that, you realize the biggest mistake that beginning entrepreneurs make, especially in this space, is they say, well, I'm going to create demand for my products. And it's like, no. The much better way is you're going to fulfill existing demand.
Demand exists already.
Exactly. And then what our objective is to see, okay, well, for these different types of products, what's out there already? So my thread rack example is a good example. A thread rack, by the way, it's a rack you put threads on. So I don't sew, but
so it's a storage thingy for threads.
Exactly. And I look it up, everybody, because I don't sell that kind of stuff. But I was researching it the other day for a YouTube video I was making. And what was interesting was it's like if you search thread rack, they're all wooden. they're all obviously made of wood.
Right.
And they all look the same, right? And so
there's these little spindles that are there and the thread goes on them.
Exactly. So I would look at that and people are like, well, how do you know whether I should sell the thread rack? And I can talk about where we find that idea in a second. But if you think about that for a second, it's interesting because you search that and you realize, wow, there's loads of wooden thread racks. There's no gap in this market. But what I saw the other day, which perfectly will tell you what to do, I saw one listing in amongst all of these wooden thread racks. And what was the difference? It was made from metal. Right? It was a metal thread rack. And when I searched metal thread rack, there was literally one of them on.
There's no competition.
Very little. But there's people already searching for metal thread rack. Therefore, what are we looking for here? Well, I'm not saying there has to be no competition. I'm just saying there's a balance that we're looking for.
Right.
So
there's an opportunity.
Exactly. So for anybody, like, again, wondering, I'll give you some very base what we're looking to do, just so anyone who's listening can jump onto Amazon, have an understanding of what I mean, just so you can hear my logic. So if people always ask me, like, how do you know what to sell? Like, where do you stand? So there's lots of different ways, but a really cool way I like to show people who are just getting into this is I tell them to go to hobbies, right? So you can go to Wikipedia. I have loads of videos on my YouTube channel about this. You can go to Wikipedia, look up hobbies. So take sewing. So you can start sewing accessories on Amazon. And then what you can do is you can start to pick out, you'll see all these different sewing accessories. And what you do is then you open new tabs and you start to search, thread racks, this, that, the other, and see how many results come back on Amazon. Because when you search something, like Google, it'll tell you one of 232 results, one of 10,000 results. So what we're always looking for is if we can have it that a product is less than 1,000 search results, that doesn't mean it's a guaranteed absolutely yes. It means, okay, well, there's not that much on there for those keywords. That's a good start. And then what we do is we look at what we call the BSR on Amazon, the bestseller rank. So let's say we have our thread racks. I search that and I see there's only 400 thread racks on Amazon. Okay, I'm thumbs up now. Then I look at the thread racks and I start to see what bestseller rank are all these things. So if it's 22,000, that's the 22nd best-selling product in, say, home and kitchen, for example. So I'm like trying to see what are all these different BSR numbers. Are they closer to 1 or are they closer to 50,000? We go as far as that. And so basically from there, we're able to identify, and again, I don't really have the time to go into how we do that, but at a very base level, we can see based upon the spread, how big the market is. And we can see, is that something we can get into? Can we actually compete? And so we have this whole systemized process, and that's only a little piece of it, but that's to give people an idea of, like, when we use Amazon like a stock market, it doesn't matter what you sell, because all that matters is you're able to identify what I talked about, see if there's an opportunity, understand what you can do to make your offer better. And from there, we just sell those same simple little products in as many countries as we possibly can. And that's the business model. It's quite simple. And Amazon do the day-to-day shipping for us.
Well, now say somebody wants, okay, hey, look, metal thread racks. I want to get into selling metal thread racks. But then they're like, ugh. So do you help them figure out where to get the metal thread racks?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah. So again, where people struggle the most historically, where people have said, oh, e-commerce is hard, selling on Amazon is hard, was logistics, because that was hard.
Right.
I can tell you now, we're the only people, I'm not speaking ill of anyone else doing this. I'm just telling you, we're the only people who've made it easy. And our thousands of members will tell you that. And so when you're looking for the product, we always use Alibaba. If you can't find it on there, we just really move on, especially if you're starting out. If you're more advanced, you can get a sourcing agent, and things like that, which we talk about. But at a base level, we use Alibaba. We find a supplier there who's been in business for, I would say, over 2 years is always good.
Right. You want to make sure that they're a stable company.
Exactly. And if they're gold rated, great, but not every supplier is gold rated, but that's a nice thing. Have they had a factory inspection by Alibaba? So they're very much been inspected. And if all that checks out, and again, I have videos about this on YouTube for free, people can check out. we then speak to the factory and we get the cost price off them. And we usually speak to 2 or 3 suppliers at the one time about the same type of an item, because we just want to get a feel for what are the prices. And then what we always do is we get a sample. So we get the sample, we bring it to our house.
Is it cheap? Is it, is it going to break? Is it high quality? All those various things.
Exactly. And then people often wonder, well, how would I figure out like how much money I'm going to make? Because that's I didn't know when I started.
Right.
Again, we built this thing called the ecosystem in Marketplace Superheroes, which is free actually. There's no cost to the ecosystem when you join our program. It's included. And so what we have in there is a thing called our profit calculator. And what that is, it basically just lets you, it enables you to calculate your exact profitability to the cent. It takes into account all the import costs, everything else. So it's easy for you. And all you got to do is go, hey, supplier, what's the length, width, and height of that product? What's the weight of the product whenever it's packaged? Right. We put it into our little system, and we put in the price we expect to sell it for. We would have seen that because of our competition on Amazon. We put all this information in, and our system just comes back and says, okay, Deb, based upon your numbers, you are going to make X amount of money. It's going to be this return on investment. So you can either choose to say yes or no. And so for anybody wondering, how do you know whether to say yes or no? What's a good profit margin on this? Right. What we want to do is we want to double our initial investment. Okay. Like more is better, but that's what we're always looking for. So we'll put in $1. After all is said and done, we want to turn that into 2. Very, very basically. And when you do that, then when you're doubling your money, over time, then as your business starts to expand, what you'll find is that if you're selling a product, well, let's say you sell it out in 9 months. So you double your money in 9 months. That's nice. Not many investments you can double your money in 9 months. Massively. But what's more interesting then is when, and I would say some of your items will become what we call stars. They will sell at a much faster rate than the other products that you have. And so they will actually sell out and have to be replenished maybe 3 to 4 times a year. And when you have products like that, what you'll find is technically your profit margin will increase because you'll sell it faster and faster and faster. And so you're using more of your profit to reinvest to grow your business. I know it's kind of complex, but it's obviously how big companies like, your Walmarts, et cetera, how they scale so big because their turn time, the time it takes to sell out, shrinks down. So, so then in terms of then like the business itself, how do we help then once you speak to that supplier? Well, what we do is when you find a supplier, you've looked at 3, you choose one, the one that had the best pricing, where your profits is the most solid. Also, they've let you likely do a bit of a test order. They might want you to do 500 units.
As opposed to 50,000.
Yeah. Or you might say, can I do, let's say they want you to do 500. You might say, could I do 300 just to test it out?
Right. I'm just wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. So that then it brings in a risk a little bit, but also what it does is sometimes you pay a little bit more for that, but it brings in your risk. So it's a nice thing. Right. What we do is then we have you go to our online system. You literally just put in who the supplier is, what their phone number is, what their email is, all of that information into our freight system, and we take it from there. We literally go, well,
so I'm not having to go, okay, my UPS shipping thing is.
No. We do all that. So we speak to the supplier on behalf of our clients. We then arrange that your stock, when it's completed its production, that it goes to our place in China. We get it onto our containers, and then we ship it over to wherever it is you want it to go. And it's really cool because basically we allow you to prepay your shipping in our system. And again, I know for any of you listening, if you're starting out or just even interested in this, that mightn't sound like a big deal, but it really is, because the problem with these freight forwarders is that when you work with them, they'll tell you, oh, it's really inexpensive to ship this, and you'll think it's wonderful. And then of course it arrives and it's like, well, there's an extra cost for this
to get it off of the truck, the boat, the whatever.
Yeah. Oh, and the microwave broke, so we had to get a new one, so you had to pay for that. God knows what's in this thing. So we really wanted to protect our members. And so by telling you, hey, I'm prepaying my shipping costs, you know how much you're paying at all times. And that gives you really good certainty in how much money you're going to make. And so our freight company, I would say, is really innovative. There's not many like it out there that do what we do. We only work with our own members right now. We literally don't even accept outsiders, as we call them now. We call them funny outsiders. Yeah, that's how we help people.
Right. Yeah. And the important part of that is the fact that, say I've done this and I've decided, okay, I'm going to order 500 thread spools. If I'm not working with you, and then I have to wait basically for space on wherever, more than likely it's a ship. I mean, if it's coming from China, it's, it's going to be a ship, it's not going to be important enough that it's going air or anything like that. Thread spools are just kind of, and so you want, we used to talk about the slow boat to China. Well, it's the slow boat from China. And so, and that, same thing. I mean, like I've heard of people who hire half a moving van, they're moving their house here in the States. And so they only need space for half a moving van. Well, they, unfortunately, what that means is they have to wait till that moving company can fill that other half. And, and who knows how, and I mean, I've talked to people who've had their personal belongings stuck on trucks for months and months, and they're at the whim of those. And I shouldn't say whim, because I mean, it clearly makes sense that they're not going to ship half a truck. I mean, they're not going to move half a truck unless it's, half a block, to be profitable for them, they need to fill that space. So, that is often where those hitches come in.
Yeah. But what happens, and again, it's a good point. What happens with your thread spool example is you will be like, right, I need to ship these. Where do I go? Freight forwarder. So you'll find something called a freight forwarder. What they do is then you see a freight forwarder doesn't do their own containers. Typically.
Right. They're just filling space.
Yeah, they're access other containers that they can fill the space, like you just said, exactly. And so like they will ship it, but what happens is they rip you off. And I suppose some would say it's not a rip off because you've no other option. And I'd say, okay, maybe, but really what they're doing is they're charging you a premium. And in fairness to them, I get why they're doing that, because like that's a tiny little order. It's a pain in the ass. Like I have to do all the work on it, and I'm not making much money off of this thing, so I'm going to charge Deb a whole bunch of money for her spools, and at least we'll make something from it. And even if a freight forwarder is working with Deb and her business is bigger now, and she's shipping a whole container of spools, it's actually not that profitable for a freight forwarder to ship a full container, just because the business model that they run is inherently a tight margin type business. Where we've changed that is like we're able to pass on a lot of savings to our members, but because we're putting on the containers and we have a lot of people in that one container, we actually are able to save our members 50 to 75% of what they would pay a freight forwarder. But we still are actually very profitable. Like I always tell people, we are not Mother Teresa. We are not. Yeah,
you're not a nonprofit.
Yeah, we are not a nonprofit. But at the same time, it makes sense to make it easy for you to ship something. I think for anybody listening today that's not even interested in this business, but you're just listening because you enjoy this podcast to learn different business philosophy, that's a great philosophy. And the philosophy is simple. It is figuring out what are the different problems, challenges, etc., that my clients are actually having that I'm referring out, and how can I bring that service in-house, own it, make it better, and you'd be amazed. Like there's so much profit and additional businesses within companies that they're not even aware of, because they would say, well, I'm not in that business.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing that I love about this, is kind of the how we're doing it. And I'm figuring out how to explain this. It's, as a marketing person, as someone who works with people, we're always told, we need to find something, a product or a service that is our passion. We've created this now, service is going to be a little bit different, and you can do services on Amazon. I mean, I was just fascinated by that, but, I invented this widget and I'm going to sell this widget and, all those various things. And so you're putting your passion into it. And, and so then we're thinking, well, wait a minute, what you're talking about is just finding 1, 2, 20, 100 products that you in essence, don't care diddly squat about. You're not attached to that thread spooler.
Right.
What you are attached to is making money.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people need to remember is, it's not the product. It's, and I mean, now there are people who, I mean, they're definitely going to go through for a variety of reasons and have their passion products,
for sure.
But, for others, it's like, nah, I just want to be able to afford a second vacation. Or,
I love it though, Deb. I think it's very liberating actually, because, we're all told, when you do, there's books like Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. Right. And I mean, I love what I do, but I love business. Right. That's my thing that I love. Now, obviously, I also love working with my clients and seeing them succeed is genuinely, and I mean it, such a pleasure. And the fact that we're plugged in to our clients' success is even better, because as they grow, we grow. Right. And that's a beautiful thing and a really good thing. And I think a lot more companies should look at that. But in terms of the products on Amazon, you don't have to be passionate about them. But here's the thing, you actually are solving problems for other people. Right. Like they're looking for those items.
Yeah, because otherwise no one would buy it.
Exactly. It's proven demand. And you're actually giving people better service than what's already out there. You're improving it. You're making the listing better. You're making the product better. You're testing it with 2 to 3 suppliers. Like you're doing everything that you can do to sell good things to people who want those things. And I think that's an important factor. Like, I mean, I get people sometimes come to us and they say, hey, I only want to sell whatever, like biodegradable, whatever's.
Right. Yeah, because that's important to them.
For sure. And I would say, do you want to know something? That's great. But this model of selling on Amazon isn't necessarily for you. Right. What you want to do is you want to build a brand and you may use Amazon, you may not use Amazon, and you want to go down that mission-orientated business. That's cool. Because I would say Marketplace Superheroes for me and Robert, it's a mission-orientated business, very much so. So there's that. And I think as well, because we're actually running a little incubator program at the moment with a guy called Ryan Lee. Great guy, runs a company called Rewind. It's a health company. We're teaching people how to build one of these brands that may use Amazon, may not use Amazon, but it's a different business. And that's the thing to understand. We are expanding the skills we teach our members now, but we have to be very aware of, well, what business am I actually in? And when you're selling on Amazon, like I've described so far, how we've had thousands of people be successful. We really are product based, and we're really just offering more products to people on Amazon who want them. And as time goes on, other marketplaces are going to become available for these products, like Walmart is growing now. Oh yeah. And others, so that'll increase the market for those products as well as time goes on. And then it's globally as well. Like that's the big thing with Amazon, not just .com, but you can sell these same weird and wonderful items all over the world.
Right. And you still have to have a good marketing base. Your weird item might sell well in, even, California, but it's not going to sell well in Michigan. Okay, then that you need to you might put a little bit in a warehouse up in near Michigan, but you're going to put the bulk of what you have down in California or other countries, things like that. I mean, there's obviously products that sell well in one country and they're not going to sell well in another country.
I think so. I think that's the big thing. And that's why we recommend to our members to expand globally, because you're right. I've had products that do unbelievably in Germany, and in Spain, they're not good.
Right. And you're like, it's the same product. So,
it's like, okay, well, that's, and then equally those same items, they go even better in the US. So the more countries you have things available in, and that takes a bit of time to get that. I think some people they have a bit of a fear factor, which I understand. So once you get a bit more confident with the platform, with selling, with buying in general, then you start to open up new countries. But the thing I might have mentioned it on the last interview, I'm not sure, but I'll mention it again because it's an important thing, is what we call the rule of 5. So this is a good framework to understand how a small amount of products with a small amount of sales can translate into something interesting. So you can take 5 products that you can sell on Amazon, sell them in 5 countries, make 5 sales per product per country, average net profit of $5, just to keep it all the fives.
Right.
So if you got 5 by 5 by 5 by 5, right, over a 30-day period, your net profit before tax will be $18,750 from those items, right?
Holy schmoly.
It's kind of shocking. It's kind of shocking. It's like, whoa, people are, whoa, it's 5 items. How is that? How is that? And it's because we're saying there's 5 products in 5 markets, selling 5 a day in each market.
Right.
What you'll find is like and it's an average because some products can sell a lot more in some countries, some less in others.
Right. So it's an average.
Yeah. And equally, we're not saying, well, a product has to make 5 sales a day or it's a failure, because obviously some products, the profit could be $12, $15.
Right. But you have to have some number to pick to start.
Yeah, but even if all it does is gives everybody listening a bit of a framework of like, wow, well, what if I had 10 items and I was making 2 sales a day and I had them in even just one country, you can start to actually multiply that out and see where your profitability is. But what's really liberating, really interesting is if you take a number, like people would always say, and it's so common, I'm sure you get this all the time, Deb, but people are like, I want to make 10 grand a month. That's That's when it's the number of the internet, I think, at this point in time. But like when you divide that down by 30, put 30 into that, you're looking at an average month, and you're saying, well, that means I have to make $333 a day or whatever it is to get to 10 grand profit. And if it's sales, fine, but I'm talking about profit. It's like you start to think like that's a lot more achievable than my 10 grand number. That
right.
So scary.
The smaller bites work much better.
Yeah. And then you start to think, okay, well then if I'm looking to make $333, well, how much is an average net profit for me? So it's $5. Okay. Well, I need to make 60 sales a day then at $5 net profit to get to that, roughly speaking, obviously a little bit more than that. But like, then it's like, well, what if I was selling 10 items? Well, wow, I only need to make whatever 6 sales an item and I'm there, So I think that's a really important factor of just business too, taking a bigger number, breaking it down to a manageable number, and then putting in the actions that make that number happen is huge. And like that, and I guess some people, they talk about spreadsheet millionaires, right? Because that's kind of what that in essence is. But I've been doing this with Robert since I started with him when I was a total Homer Simpson of business many, many years ago. And it was one of the first lessons I learned from him. And still to this day, when we speak every day, we're breaking down numbers. And the weird thing is that process now, I mean, I would say not this year, but maybe next year, we will get to doing as a company, $25 million a year or about that cumulatively. So that's obviously a lot, but it all started with those little, plans. Expand the plan,
and I think that is probably one of the problems that people have is they forget that they have to start small. And they may struggle, truly struggle for several months, maybe even longer, before things really start taking off, and so they have to be patient, and so that's where it's hopefully, a side gig that they're doing this, it's not, oh my gosh, I have to rely on this to feed my family.
No.
If it's that, then I'm sorry, you need to go get a job, even if it's just, you need the guaranteed income, but yeah, and then so do this as a second job. But I'm sure one of the things that people are wondering, Stephen, is, just a rough guess as to what, how much money somebody has to have to even start this up. Is it 500? Is it 5,000? Because especially for the folks that are doing this is, I stuff's getting tight. We're supposed to get another stimulus check here of $1,400. Sure. Is that enough to do something like this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I get that question a lot. I take a different approach to this question usually, right? And we've a lot of let's say 7,500 people, I think it is, whatever it is in our program now. Lots of different types of people.
Right.
People who succeed the most and the fastest are always the people who come in day one and say, this is a business like any other.
Yes, I'm going to take it seriously.
Yes, and I always tell people, and I'll ask you the question again today, right? Because it's an interesting one. We won't have a correct answer, so don't worry. There's no pressure. But in your town, city, where you are, in Atlanta, like, how much would it be to start a coffee shop, do you think, in where you're from? What do you, 100,000, 200,000? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe 100. And, I'm guessing that it might actually be a little bit less right now because unfortunately there's a lot of space that's become available.
Exactly. So let's say it's 100 grand or whatever, right? To start a coffee shop. And I know I had local business owners here in Ireland who have got to know, and I've started asking them that question. Hey, if you don't mind off the record, what's the number like? And a friend of mine, he did own a number of restaurants. He sold them before COVID hit. But that's a story in and of itself.
That was good timing. Holy schmoly.
It was, but and I won't say the guy's name, obviously, but it was good timing. But then he sold it to a family member, so it's super awkward.
No. So Christmas was a little awkward.
A little bit awkward, yeah. But this guy was telling me, like, to start a restaurant, he's like, it's 250,000 all day long because between everything. And then he was saying, even the smaller restaurants he had, it was less than that, still 6 figures. And then someone would burn themselves, and then they'd sue him, and he had to pay it himself.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of expenses that go in that people have absolutely no idea about.
Yeah, and again, I'm not running from the question, but I just want to give people some context to the question, because on the other hand, then, and I will give you an answer, but on the other hand, then we have people who come and they say, I what's the least amount of money I can start with? Right. And there's an answer to that as well. And so I'll give you that answer first, but then we'll get back to the other piece of really growing something. I'll give some real numbers too. So you can launch a product on Amazon for anywhere from about $800 to $3,000. You can. And that'll launch you. That'll get you started. That'll get you selling. You'll double your money. So you'll turn your 3, if it was 3, into 6 within a 6 to 9 months, maybe 12-month period, which is fine. And you'll grow from there. But obviously, that's slower. Now, what I do find for people who are like that, who not come from business backgrounds, don't have the confidence, what usually happens, right, is they do a product like that or two, because I never recommend just doing one, because then what happens if you pick the wrong one, then you're screwed. No feedback from maybe our team or whatever, and I if you watch any of my YouTube interviews, I'm so transparent. You will hear people say, I kind of panicked on my first item. I got it wrong, but every item since has been great. But actually, the first one I sold it out, I just didn't make a whole lot of money. I had the same experience. Right. So coming right around then to finishing off the answer. So you can start from that amount of money. But what we've seen, we've tracked a number of members now. One member, I don't want to say his first name, I'm not sure if he wants me to, but he's a dentist in the US actually. And real nice guy, quiet fella. Was at our Irish event a few years back and was there with his wife, started learning from us. And one of those guys I never really got to speak to because he's so quiet, but he's quietly was working away. And then he sort of said, look, I'd like you guys to help me out. I want to take this a lot more seriously. Can you do that? So we did. And this guy now, in 2021 this year, we estimate he should do revenue anywhere from about 800,000 to about 1.2 million this year. At about a 30% net profit. So if it was $1 million, he'd be making 300 grand net profit before tax.
Not bad.
Right? He doesn't do any of the day-to-day work. He just has to monitor the products and make sure they're in stock. But this guy started this business for about $50,000. And he was able to build to now a seven-figure company off that kind of money, because he just left the money in the business over about the space of about 2.5 years, I'd say. But he actually was very, I would say, slow in his growth, because he just kind of like, he had one item.
Well, he was busy. He was being a dentist.
Exactly. So if he had a little more time to find more products, he would have had the capital. Probably could be doing 2 and a bit million now revenue this year. We would. And I'm estimating, obviously, but just look at what he's done. He's got a couple of really great items. One item, I don't want to reveal the item, he'd kill me, but it's in the hunting niche. Or niche, you guys might say. And, this one little dumb item, it does like 200 grand a year in sales.
Wow.
And we've got dumb little items like that to do that kind of money. So the potential to build a significant income, a significant company it is there.
Mhm.
But I will say, if you don't invest properly,
Mhm.
then it's going to either take a lot of time
Right.
or you're not going to get there. And I think
Mhm.
that's just being real with people. We can, and what people typically do with us, I can tell you, is they come in, they do the program,
Mhm.
they go through the program, and they say, "Do you want to know something? I'm not going to do this on my own. If you
Mhm.
can help me." So
Mhm.
we then can, of course, we give them coaching and all that. They join our coaching program, and the people that join our coaching program, it's unbelievable the difference in that.
Mhm.
They take it so seriously. They have a coach now that looks at their products with them,
Mhm.
and they're able to get that bit of confidence like I needed when I
Mhm.
started. Robert gave me so much confidence because I
Mhm.
was terrified. And
Right.
he's like,
Yeah, I
no,
mean,
no,
this is a scary thought to be doing something like
yeah,
this.
yeah. And he's like, look, I know it's $2,000 or whatever to launch
Mhm.
this thing, but do it.
Mhm.
It'll be fine.
Right.
And I did it, and I was like, wow, yeah,
Mhm.
no, he's right.
Mhm.
That's great. And now we
Mhm.
had products like, I remember now we don't sell them anymore. We used to sell vacuum storage bags back in the day,
Mhm.
but they're too competitive now. But I remember we were importing container after container of
Wow.
these
Mhm.
vacuum storage bags.
Mhm.
It's so boring. And
But it made money. So that comes back to that's what the passion was.
and that, exactly, and that's where
Mhm.
we would get excited. It's like,
Mhm.
wow, this is working. This is
Mhm.
a real business. I'm seeing real profit
Mhm.
here. Whereas, on the other side, like we run lots of businesses now, from coaching
Mhm.
companies right through to obviously information,
Mhm.
through
Mhm.
to services, through to outsourced services. We
Mhm.
have the whole outsourced service business. We have loads of different businesses in our
Mhm.
network now. And like, I think it's important to say that some people would say that, like, oh well, only certain businesses are real businesses, but
Mhm.
every business is a real business when you treat it like a real
Right.
business. I
Right.
think the days of like an online thing not being a real
Mhm.
business is coming to an end,
Mhm.
because, as I always tell people, there's one group of people that always know
Mhm.
businesses are real,
Mhm.
and that is the government.
Mhm. Oh
Because
yeah,
they,
yeah. When they can say,
you know,
"Hello, we need our portion."
exactly. So you
You know,
might be,
mhm.
selling coaching, and you think, oh, is this a real business? And then the government say, oh yeah, there's money. It's a real
Mhm.
business.
Yes, yes, we need our cut. And that is worldwide. I mean, taxes are a fact of life. And so, it varies, all those, but yeah, when the government says, give us our share, you're doing something real.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So
Mhm.
I hope that gives you, I know it was a long-winded answer, but I
No,
wanted to
no,
give
that
you
was
a
great.
full answer.
Yeah, several things that I picked out of that was, this is something that is very complicated. I mean, just the thought of thinking I'm going to sell something on Amazon is terrifying. I mean, and so because Amazon is the behemoth, right? I mean,
Right.
they don't get any bigger. I'm guessing Walmart is probably the second. And then everything kind of trickles down from there. I always love going to the bottom of the Amazon page and seeing everything that they own. That fascinates me. I'm like, oh my gosh, they own my Ring doorbell.
Yeah.
Or they own the company that made it.
Yeah. They bought them a number of years ago. They bought
Right.
Audible. They bought,
Hmm.
Book Depository. They bought,
Yeah.
Whole Foods. Goes on and on.
Yeah, here in the States, we all know that they own servers and that they, because that's been kind of a big deal recently.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, who knew that Amazon owns servers? Well, I did, but that's because I've researched it a little bit more.
AWS is one of their
Mhm.
biggest
Yeah,
revenue.
yeah, and it's it is one of those things that I don't think because since it always goes just by its initials, I don't think people realize that A was Amazon.
Yeah, yeah, and
You
Netflix actually runs off of AWS. A lot
Mhm.
of people don't know that,
Right.
and I think it's fascinating that
Right.
that's the
Oh yeah. Yeah. And all of these various things. I mean, when they bought Whole Foods, I mean, that was a huge deal because
yeah.
that got them into the grocery market. But so when you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, to know that there's support.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest part of it is you're not just going alone, because I don't think you can. I think it is just too complicated of a
Yeah.
process to go it alone. And so that's
I
where you just that's what you do is invaluable.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely, and I make a point of saying that now. You really need to be able to plug into what we have. And I'm not saying that from a case of, well, you can never be successful. You're not smart.
Yeah. Come give us your money or else.
Yeah. No, but you definitely could go and find your freight forwarders.
Right.
You know, go and you can go and find, like, do they have a warehouse somewhere that I can send my product? All these things you can do, because we had to do it for years. But hey, why would you want to do it? Because it's
you know, why not? You know, I don't have my little button that I have. Here's my little button. So my button is the money button.
Yeah.
I do need an easy button, because that is the one thing, you know, why not do it the easy way? You know, because that's the, you know, and obviously it costs, there is a fee to be working with you, but it's kind of, you know, those things, you know, I liken it to, you know, I'm going to hire a CPA. I'm not going to try and do my own books. You know, I'm not going to try and do, say, my own open heart surgery. That's just not really going to work. And so, you know, that's where you're hiring the experts, and, you know, and that's, you know, that's the important thing. But, you know, the other thing that is just absolutely critical, whether they're working with you or not, is if you're doing something like this, as we've said, you have to take it seriously. You get out of it what you put into it. You know, and if your investment is minimal, that's great. I mean, you know, that's obviously, there are people that, you know, minimal is maximum for them. You know, but it's, you know, if you're not able to put a bunch in, you know, as in, say, you know, I mean, you talked about the debt. I mean, 50,000 people probably went, oh my God. But, you know, many people could do, you know, but we're also not saying, okay, don't mortgage your house. Don't max out your credit cards to do this. No.
Let me come in on that, because that's a great point you make. And it's an important point, because the other side of looking at this is too, it's like, well, what's your objective as well?
Right.
So if your objective is, I just want to make couple of grand extra a month. I'm not looking for a whole lot. Well, then fantastic, because remember we talked about 10 grand earlier on, and we divided 30 into that. Well, hey, you divide your 30 into 2 grand, and all of a sudden that becomes really
doable.
You know, you're getting into like $70 a day revenue, profit, to get to that place, and like to get to $70 profit. You know, it's really not that big a deal. It's like, you know, maybe $250 a day in revenue. Like you're getting down to really very small numbers, which is great. And whenever you if you look at our community, you will see we document hundreds of these stories now, and there's all different kinds of people in our community. But the one thing everyone has in common is when you get the confidence in, wow, that actually worked. Like I found a product. And then we helped them bring it in and all that. We made it easy for them, because if not, it is tricky, but we made it easy for them to bring it in. It got onto Amazon. It took time, and that's now selling. I find when people get their first sale, even though it's just their first sale, all the past, the people
like,
that
oh my
told
gosh,
them
it
they couldn't be successful.
worked.
Exactly. That's all gone now. And they realize, holy smokes, let's just say it's a family show. You know, I can do this, and I can just replicate that. I can bring in more products, and I can grow wherever I want to go. And I think that for anybody listening, don't be thinking about, you know, doing $1 million in revenue if you've never done any money on the internet.
Right. Yeah.
Start small.
You know, we talk about big, hairy, audacious goals, BHAGs. Okay, that's not a BHAG. That's unattainable. Oh, I shouldn't say unattainable, because people may do it, but we have to be realistic.
Yeah, like exactly. And like you could say it's my plan is, my vision is.
Right. Yeah. 5 years from now. That's
exactly. And let's put a time frame.
Right. Not 5 months.
Exactly. And I think as well, if you say, well, I want to get to $1 million and I'm going to put in 200 grand. Okay. All right. Well, then, then
it's probably more doable, because you made a bigger initial investment.
Yeah. Or then it's like, well, I want to get to $1 million and I'm putting in $200. Okay. Well,
then it's, you know, 10 years from now, maybe, but
So that goes for every business. And again, I am the most optimistic person you'll meet. I am a huge supporter of everybody that does any business. And I will tell anybody listening, like the heights that we've been able to get to, and I believe we're really only getting warmed up, you know, it's much more than I even knew was possible years ago. So the person you are today, what you believe is possible, right? That's only possible for the person you are right now in your mind. You're only expanding your comfort zone a little bit and feeling like maybe I could get there. What's actually attainable is way more, but you have to step up. Step up piece by piece. You cannot just leap to it. You got to step up and you got to then expand your comfort zone, expand everything. So I would just say to anybody listening, look, no matter what you're doing, just if that's a goal for 2021 this year, a good action for you is expand my comfort zone piece by piece, do some things that make me uncomfortable and whatever venture that is. And good things happen when you do that. Whereas if you stay in your comfort zone all the time, you'll just keep jumping around from bright, shiny objects and you'll never really go anywhere, you know?
Right. You know, and online shopping is obviously here to stay. You know, and pandemic or not, you know, it was clearly a big growing business, and then it went kerthunk. I mean, you know, I shouldn't say kerthunk. What's the opposite of kerthunk? Because kerthunk's down. Went,
I actually don't know.
Yeah, and you know, and people they're used to it. You know, it's now something. You know, there are things that I still want to go into a store and buy, but many other things I don't. And it you know, you mentioned age things. I mean, my mother, bless her, she's 88 years old, and she'll tell me, go to that Amazon thing. You know, because she knows that may be the best place to be buying things. And she's definitely one of those, she wants to go in and touch it and feel it. But yeah, she also tells me, go to that Amazon thing. And you know, and so, you know, I go to that Amazon thing and order her whatever it is. Or at least online. I mean, you know, she knows that there are definitely things that is much easier now to buy online. And we're just used to that. I mean, you know, it's, you know, we've been at this now having to do it for months. And, you know, I remember this is an old Mary Kay cosmetic thing. If you do something for 21 days in a row, it becomes a habit. Well, you know, this is kind of the same thing. We're just used to now going, and it's funny because it's onesie twosie things, right? You know, we used to go, okay, well, I need 6 things, so I'm gonna like I ordered a thing of vitamins the other day. Now that's where Amazon Prime comes in handy because I didn't have to pay shipping. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's incredible.
It's here to stay. I couldn't agree more. And like everything, you know, you can jump on the train. If you wanna, or you can avoid the train. But I mean, at the end of the day,
the train's there.
It's there. Exactly. And that's a really cool thing. And, you know, I would just say to anybody that's enjoyed this chat today, like go over and check out our YouTube channel. I think anybody who's interested, at least you'll see a little bit about research and how the research works and stuff like that. I think that'll help you. And then there's lots of great stories there of some of our members who've they're just like like me when I started. I was very different to who I am today when I started out, and it's been a really fun journey. It's been a huge personal journey. I mean, I feel very fortunate now that my parents, like, you know, they're my dad's 60 now. You would never know he's 60. I mean, the guy's cycles every day. He's super fit, and I feel great now. I'm able to I know I can help them as they get older now.
Right.
They're still they've got tons of time. They're going to work for the next number of years. But I think it's important. Like, you know, what's your why? For me, was like, I can take care of my family, my wife, my little boy. I can take care of my parents now. I can do whatever I want to do. And that's that, even in the tough times when I maybe wasn't sure if I was going to be successful at times, just thinking about that, but like, no, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I know I can do this. That's what got me through. But the really nice thing is, for all of our members now, they have thousands of people just like them, and many have done it already. And you know, we need positive environments now. We need,
because it's scary times. Let's just be honest.
It is like, and I think it's like, you know, it's scary times, but also strangely, from an e-commerce standpoint, massive opportunity.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's a weird time in the world, and we're all navigating it whatever which way we can.
Right.
And that's it.
Yep. Well, Stephen, tell people how they find you and connect with you online.
Yeah, sure. Well, you can definitely go to marketplacesuperheroes.com and check out some free training. I would highly recommend the YouTube channel. Just search Marketplace Superheroes on there and you'll find it. We put out tons of videos. If anyone wants to send me a personal DM if y'all are down with that. My Texas there from our Texas friends in our warehouse. You can definitely go to Instagram, Stephen J. Summers, if you want. I don't really, all I use that for is for the odd people that send me some DMs at the moment. So feel free. But it's been a pleasure, Deb.
I love it. I love it. Well, I think we need to chat again in 6 months just to kind of see what's going on, because this is definitely one of those things that is continually evolving. Hopefully in 6 months the pandemic is behind us. And for whatever happens between now and then, but let's be honest, the next thing will happen, because that's just the way that things happen. And so, it'll be interesting to talk to find out, what's going on. And because, whether we like it or not, Amazon or something like Amazon is here to stay. And just because of the demand, people, and it's funny because we do have a lot of things like people growing their own victory gardens and knowing, okay, we might not be able to. And so you kind of have this counter culture thing going, but you got to get your seeds and your all of those things from somewhere. So I find it funny, a lot of people have gone to Amazon, they've got the kits, they've got all those things, and then they build their victory garden.
one of our products is a seed box, and it's gone insane. So you're absolutely correct.
Yeah. It's going to be a combination of everything going forward. And it's just, to me, it's fascinating to watch, and to see all of the things that evolve. And I mean, that's just the way things happen. That is human nature.
Absolutely.
So cool. Well, Stephen, this it was a delight the first time, even better the second time. So can't wait for the third time because we're going to have so much fun. As we mentioned, your website is marketplacesuperheroes.com. Great information there. Google it on YouTube. Find, and that's really the best thing for people thinking, like, is this something I should be thinking about? Go and check out the free resources and training materials.
Yeah, is this weird Irish guy really able to do what he says he can do? Put me to the test. Check out the YouTube, and hopefully we can help you. I believe anyone interested, we definitely can.
I love it. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having an absolutely delightful discussion with Stephen Summers. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.